This is an example, Delta Blues in E. I want to take you through each part of what I just played in this Delta Blues example, but instead of doing it note for note, because I just improvised that, I want to teach you idea by idea, going through the whole thing. In this way, you'll be able to play your own style Delta Blues, even if you don't have all the skills built yet. You can simplify it down and make sure that you play with what you have. As you build more skills with your hands, you'll be able to add more parts. It's going to give you a really strong foundation for moving forward. Let's just jump right in. One of the biggest issues here is keeping the thumb going while you play riffs. Now, in short, the only way you can do this is by activating the thumb to work on autopilot, to where you don't have to think about it. You're going to hear this from a lot of other teachers, that you need to learn the top lines first by themselves. And then they'll say, then all you have to do is put the thumb in underneath. I've been teaching private lessons for over a decade. Nobody I've ever worked with has ever been able to do it like that. In fact, a lot of people that come to me have been trying that for years, even sometimes decades, and they haven't been able to do it. The only way that you can do this is by flipping everything, taking your eyeballs, looking at your right hand, and then making sure that you do some activation exercises for like a few weeks first. And that's just where you're going to keep the thumb going and then practicing the essential rhythms with the right hand. Once you're ready to start to activate that right hand, check out those lessons I have on YouTube. And then if you want to go deeper, you can get the Delta Blues training class that I have. So when you play Delta Blues intros, the cool thing is it's actually just the turnaround. The turnaround is the last 4 bars of a standard 12-bar blues. So you could start actually all the way at the last 4 bars, or you can start in the last 2 bars. Since we're playing in the key of E, we're gonna play these chords in a row. We're gonna do 1 bar full of B7s, this shape here, and you wanna try to keep the thumb going. So 1, 2, 3, and then 1 bar of A7. And now we're on the last 2 bars. This is where you're gonna place a turnaround phrase. Now, I've got a bunch of other lessons on turnaround phrases. Let's just pick one. It's best to at first memorize some basic turnarounds and then understand how I've taught in other lessons, how you can adapt those again, change them slightly to make them easier or harder or more interesting or more difficult for fun. In this turnaround, we're just taking this shape. So the 5th fret and the 4th fret here, you can see it on the diagram, and we're sliding that down like that, ending up on this E chord shape, and then the last 2 beats going to B7. So in context, the whole intro will be the same typically as the last 4 bars. It doesn't have to be the note for note the same, but it should be the same form. Here we go. So this is the intro. 4 and B7, A7, then E, then turnaround phrase. And then B7 for the last 2 beats. That's the intro and also the outro. So back to the first bars of the actual blues. Past the intro, the first 4 bars are spelled out like this. 1 bar of E, 1 bar of A, and then 2 bars of E. That's what we think of as the top row of the blues. You know, the beginner guitarist would look at that and think, okay, that means I'm just playing an E chord. But as you learn more things, an E in a chart means a lot more than just play E chord. It means you can play E riffs, E patterns, E boogies, shuffles. There's so many different options that you could play. In this example, I chose to play a riff. Playing and writing your own riffs, it's a really big concept. And if you really break it down, zoom out, it's basically 3 things. It's scales. Which scales? It's 3 different scales: major pentatonic, minor pentatonic, and blues scale, all mixed together. But it's mixed together not just like a scale smashed all those notes together. It's cultural. It's the way that you play and mix those scales together. So just looking at those scale charts and then memorizing scales, that also doesn't really help very much. So a better and faster approach is to learn common phrases that people play. It's like learning a new language. You might want to learn just to say the common phrases. So that's something I'm doing here. This is a common phrase. This is a really, really common riff, and I'm teaching this in a lot of other lessons on my YouTube channel. This riff here is outlining the blues scale in the minor pentatonic. You could think of it that way, but I think it's easier just to think of this as a phrase. This is a phrase that is played in blues all the time. You take this little shape here, and then you can also include the high E string, and then all these variations will open up. And then oftentimes this little riff will be finished by doing this. So now notice what I did is slide the second finger down. And then now I land in this E major shape with 2 fingers. So that's just a canned riff that you need to be able to pull out. I mean, that's something that everybody should learn. And this little solo arrangement I just played, I'm using variations on that shape. Okay, I'm playing around with that, making sure that I'm keeping the groove with that foot tap. How do you do a riff and then these chords going through? This is the best strategy. You're gonna play 1 bar of a short riff. Something like, let's play this. That was 1 bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 clicks of my foot. And 4 thumbs. And 4 hits of my thumb like this, with the foot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're gonna play 1 bar of the A. Now, since it's just 1 quick bar of the A, you shouldn't try to play a huge riff here. You don't have enough time, and also it can be confusing for the listener. So instead, highlight the entire chord. This is an A7 chord, and I think it's best just on that second bar, just play this A7 in this case. Now, you also could do the patterns, you know, shuffles and things like that, or even boogie woogies. I played the E and then a little phrase on the A. This time I used a pattern. Those are boogie woogie patterns. And then I went back to the E, but since we established that the E riff, that's 1 bar, but we need 2 bars of that. So we're gonna repeat that a couple times. Now we're on that second row. Let's talk about the second row. The second row is filled with 2 A7 chords and then 2 E7 chords. Again, when a beginner sees that and they just think, what's the chord? That means I should just strum the chord? No, that means that you're playing things that are appropriate over that chord. What does it mean when you say over a chord? We can plug in patterns, or we can just plug in the entire chord. That little chromatic tension going down and back up. Super common. It's something you have to add. And then we have 2 more bars of that E7. Again, we're not playing the chord, we're playing a riff here. The best thing you could do is try to copy the riff that you played in the bars right above it. So that means we played something like this. I know that was a little bit different, but it's okay. It's similar because we're still using this little shape and then sometimes coming up that note. So it's similar, and the listener hears that again and can attach to it. It sounds cool. Now, so that's the second row of the blues. The last row of the blues, bars 9, 10, 11, and 12. The job of the last row is to build a little bit of tension by playing the 5 chord, which is in this case B7, and then to the A7, and then back to the E in a turnaround phrase. The turnaround phrase is going to let the listener know either we are starting the whole thing over again or we're ending it. In this case, we're going to end it. Again, when you see those chords on the chart, a beginner is going to think, oh, that means I need to strum this chord. Okay? But a more advanced player is going to know that if it says B7, I can play All those things we talked about. I can play the chord, I can play chord and arpeggios. So that's what I mean by chord and arpeggios, where you're just plucking away with where you pluck away with the root note like this. And then you can pluck the fingers to simply play different notes of the arpeggio. An arpeggio is just notes from the chord. So you hold the chord down and you know some right hand patterns. That's the easy way to do it. Now the B7 goes by so fast, I wouldn't really recommend too many riffs at that point. You can squeeze some riffs in there, but it's better if you're just learning this to keep it simple on those parts. You're already adding riffs and improvised parts over the E chord. You don't need to add riffs over every single spot of the blues. 1, 2, 3, 4, then A7, 4 beats, 3, 4, then 1 beat of the E, and a turnaround phrase. We're gonna use that same one. And then walk up to B7. It's a bunch of stuff to keep in mind. The main takeaways from this is that you're gonna see the chart and memorize this chart eventually, this 12-bar blues chart. Right now you're looking at it as chords, but what you really need to see is that if it says a chord name and you're playing blues, you have so many options. You can play the chord, you can play arpeggios, which means that same chord, one string at a time. You can play riffs. Riffs can be an advanced topic, but there's a couple different approaches. You can learn the 3 scales that you need. You should learn eventually all the three scales that you need, major and minor, pentatonic, plus the blues scale. But also not just playing those scales up and down. You have to know how those scales are approached in blues. And so that brings the other way, which is just learning common phrases. That will train your ear on how these scales and these notes are approached. A lot of the best players, let's say someone like Stevie Ray Vaughan, he basically just copied his favorite riffs from his favorite players and then slightly altered them, sped them up, or played them in a slightly different way. But that is a better strategy than just sticking to the theory part of it, which is like the 3 scales, arpeggios, and chromatic leading. You should listen to a bunch of other blues songs and then learn those standard riffs. Same way, kind of like learning a language, like learning the most important phrases. Hey, how's it going? Things like that. Those common phrases that you would learn in a language. That's kind of what we're doing here. You learn common blues phrases. Here, what I'm encouraging you to do is play around with this shape. Next time you look at this 12-bar blues form, don't just think it's that simple where you're just strumming these chords. That's how a beginner looks at it. But when you're more advanced, you can see the big picture and you know the different options that you can play. My recommended strategy for learning how to play Delta blues by yourself, or even just any kind of modern solo blues works too. You need to, number 1, understand all the basics, the foundations, which is the form of the 12-bar blues. Number 2, all the essential patterns like the shuffles and boogie-woogie patterns and downtown, uptown shuffles. There's a bunch of these patterns that everybody should learn. Once you can insert those specific patterns on your own and play through a full 12-bar blues, then if you want to get into solo blues playing, the next step is definitely to learn thumb independence. This is the thing where everybody gets stuck. Remember, trying to learn the riffs by themselves and then adding the thumb is not going to work. You have to train the thumb for thumb independence. You have to have this thumb being able to go on autopilot so you can think creatively about the riffs that you want to play. If you have to think about the thumb, your whole mind is gone and you won't be able to play the riffs. You won't be able to think about it. So you have to, for a while, train this right hand, and then you can go back to the left hand. This is a slow play through, just one course through using these ideas. Okay, we'll start with the turnaround. 1, 2, 3, 4. B7, then A7, then E, then turn on phrase. Walk up to B7. Riff. A7. on that second row, let's slide it down. Back to E in riff. Try to repeat that same riff again. Now the last row, B7, then A7, now the E, and then turn on phrase. Walk up to B7, and this time we're going to finish it just by playing an E. And then how about this ending tag? Hold and finish. Now, if you're interested in going through all this stuff step by step, I have a beginner blues training and a Delta blues training. It's exactly for that. I'll see you all in the next one.